I just felt this massive regret. And so for the first time in my life, I prayed. I said, God, if I make it out of here alive, then I'll be her. I don't know who she is yet. I don't know who I'm supposed to be, but I will be her, and I will commit to being her right now. 20 minutes later, the police come, and the other woman and I are embracing. Both the cars are completely totaled. They look at us and they look at both our cars. They're like, how did you get out of there? I knew there was only one reason we both survived. They looked at our cars. They're like, that's impossible.
Wow,
and it was it was that day. It changed everything.
Hey, I'm Scott Brandon Hoffman, aka Brandon AF, and this is the Mostly Conscious Late Night Show. And I got a case of dynamite of awesome in the green room. I mean, this woman is amazing, and she's pregnant. And I hope she doesn't have to do anything on the show, because I don't really have like a virtual conscious, mostly conscious doctor on board. So let's hope we get through. I'm sure it's good. We'll see you on the other side. Almost live from the internets, it's the Conscious Late Night Show with your host, Brandon AF, with tonight's special guest, Maya Comerota. Brandon AF. I hope I said her name right. Sometimes I'm like, is it Comerota? Is it Comeroto? It's like, I'm always getting it mixed up, but we'll have her introduce herself when she comes on. Anyway, I just want to say I'm super excited about this guest. She's a friend of mine, and she's a superstar, really just one of the most energetic, super cool humans that I've ever met. She's very successful. She's an incredible coach, an incredible transformational leader and entrepreneur and speaker. She's an author. She's all the things. She's the author of this book, actually. Hold on. I'm going to show you the book. When Love Speaks. She's the author. And I think there's like a whole collection of really amazing stories in there. So let's welcome Miss Maya Comerota to the stage. Is that how you say your last name? I always mix it up.
It's Comerota.
Comerota. That makes sense. That makes sense. It's got that E in there, kind of like a little thing. What's the heritage? What's the mix there?
It's Italian.
Oh, it's Italian.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Well, Sue, I'm super stoked to have you here. I was thinking like, how did we meet? And I think I saw you. Actually, I know I saw you. It was during the Dean's Project Next. And he did a clip with you. I think it was pre-recorded, if I remember correctly. You might have been live.
That's right.
Yeah, and I was like, "Who that woman? Like, I gotta know her. She's like so my sister. Like, I gotta connect with her, and I do what I do best, and that's go out and I stalked you until you said yes, until you said hello."
I remember that is true. But
yeah,
I equally, had seen you showing up as well and loved your energy and loved what you were up to, and so it was a very easy yes to connect.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was looking. I know our mission is actually pretty much word for word the same, the exact same thing, like literally word for word.
Say it.
Well, let's move it out. I mean, I have to remember in my head. It's basically like to impact or transform 1 billion people to come alive, like step into the world and be your I'm not saying it properly, but be your full self, and just like, and I'm like, have epic fun, have outrageous fun, but it's the come alive thing, and it's like, do what you love. It's like express your soul's voice and just be fully aligned to that energy, and that's what you do best.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I blew my elevator pitch, but it's like, you know what I'm saying? It was there because I was like, I had it written down. I'm like, it's like I haven't said my elevator pitch in a while, but it's like, and it always changes a word, but I was like, we are totally on the same path.
Absolutely.
Go
ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I'm a little on the crazy side, but I think you got your own set of crazy.
I got my own crazy. I got lots of crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to have you here. So let's dive in and let's talk about something. Let's talk about Maya at 5, 6, 10, 12. Like, who was she? What was she into? What was she excited about? What was she like seeing in the world? Like, what was her experience?
Yeah. So Maya at 5, 6, 7, and 12, all those many ages, I always knew that I wanted to help people in some way, shape, or form. My dad's a vascular surgeon. My mom had come from El Salvador and was helping immigrants across in the United States. And, they both really had a heart to serve. And so I had a really beautiful example of people who were making a difference in the world. And, they were super different. Like both of them are different. And so it was just such a beautiful experience.
Mm.
I knew growing up I wanted to impact the world in some way, and probably in a healing capacity. Or, I saw the way that a lot of these patients would look at my dad, when they had no hope left. Like there was no hope, they were going to die. And my dad was the guy that everybody went to when, they didn't know where else to go. And my dad could figure it out in many situations. And so to see the hope reignited in these
Yeah.
patients, and then to see them, we'd end up having dinner and they're like, your dad saved my life. And I
Wow.
thought, I was going to pass. And so to see the impact that both my dad and mom had on the world, I just knew I was going
What
to
did
be
your mom
something.
do? What did your mom do, by the way?
Well, she was a translator um, on news stations for a while, and then when she had us, which was relatively early on, and then my dad's parents had both passed, and so they were raising his sisters, and so as soon as my mom and dad got married, she really became like a mom to his sisters, and then they very quickly had us. So my mom stopped working and really committed her life to raising us, which I couldn't be more, grateful for, because, to
Yeah.
the point that you had asked about like who was I at that age. I wanted to save the world. Like this was what I believed at the time. I now realize that the only person that needs saving is myself.
Me
Um,
too.
yeah, and I wanted to sing and dance. Like I loved Broadway, I loved singing. I would like set up little concerts for my family and friends, and you could not leave my house without me doing a concert for you. And I also thought that everybody should have fabulous hair. And so I think I thought I was going to like save the world, sing songs, and do your hair all at the same
Oh my
time.
God. I had fabulous
Yeah.
hair when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So
And I
that,
just loved adventures. Like I
I
loved
was
going
going
on
to say,
adventures.
and
Yeah.
that fascinates me because I think from what I know of you, that explains like there's those two sides of you, right? There's a side of you that wants to really empower people and get them to drop into their own heart and their own souls and all the good things. And then there's that one I keep giving you a time, like, let's get on stage, let's get that art going too. I'm sure you do, but I know like we have a secret little project eventually that's going to come out. It's going to be like the coolest freaking conscious Woodstock ever.
Yeah,
With like, and I
absolutely.
already got the picture. We already got you coming down the ceiling with the big string, wearing like some kind of like glowing gold suit or something like that, twirling around in the middle of the air,
That's
like,
right. That's
and I
right.
see
From
that
rafters.
I always see that in you. Like you have such amazing energy and such amazing wisdom, and you also have like you've got that like let's play side, let's create, let's be adventurous, and I love that about you. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it starts with ourselves. It starts with us. Like I believe we all have this part of us inside of us that wants to come more and more alive. And one of the first programs that I started, this was many years ago after leaving my corporate career, and it was called More Me, More Free. And it was just about discovering how to be more of who you are.
Mm.
And I feel like we're all in that journey constantly. Like, yeah.
Slightly, slightly. So how
Well,
did
what's
you?
possible for each of us? Like, I'm always just so curious. What's possible?
Right.
What can this woman do? What can these people do? Like, what's possible for us?
That's such a powerful question too, right? Because it's like we focus so often like on what's wrong or what we can't do or like what sucks right now, and it's like that. But that what's possible is like it feels like it's an instant connection, like a life raft or a rope
Yeah,
or life rope to like to the soul. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
how did this like superpower woman? First of all, did you? I always have to figure this out. Like when I see people like you, I'm like, do you ever have a hard time? Are you like did you ever go through any shit or did you
Yeah.
especially like in the early days or even up to because I want to hear like what happened, how you got into corporate with like the stuff you were doing that you just said that you
Yeah.
were kind of like going with.
Yeah, I had lots of hard times. I think that's why I am here. And and I think when you go through a lot of tough times, um at some point it starts to get easier, because Because you learn, right? Like I believe that that everything that happens to us is a gift, and we learn from those. And I certainly did. I think I grew up following all the rules and doing what everybody said I should do and pleasing everyone outside of me. And then realizing that I couldn't ever please everybody, which was really hard because that's what I wanted to do, was make sure everyone was happy. And not everybody would be happy all the time. And so you realize, the only person that you can really, really impact in that way and ensure is happy is yourself. And as you do that, not in a selfish way, but in a like what is an integrity for me? What are the
Yeah,
values that is this in integrity with my values, and making decisions from that space?
totally.
And so I learned to start doing that. But I had lots of tough times. I had tough times in high school. I had tough times in in corporate.
Hmm.
I followed the rules, played by the rules, did everything that everybody said, get good grades, get a great job. I did all that, and then realized that I had compromised myself in many ways, and then compromised, my time and my joy and my aliveness. And so, when I came to be about 30 years old and I was a very successful corporate executive, I had been working weekends for 6 months, 60-hour weeks. I had a child and a
Yeah,
husband, and and I emotionally was struggling because I'm like, this can't be it. I
yeah.
had everything you could want. And I'm like, what's the point if you have
So were
everything you want and you
you,
can't enjoy it?
and were you not being yourself? Like, did you feel like you were stifling that part of your soul and your voice and that aliveness factor, like during those times, trying to fit into that mold, trying to find that place with the rest of the world? Because it sounds like you were kind of
Yeah.
hiding parts of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I knew well enough at that point. Like, I think
Yeah.
I was sleeping a bit. What I would say is there were different, like, I grew up learning that achievement was what we were after,
Right.
right? So I would get the thrill with every promotion. So I would, so with every good grade or with every promotion, like I would
Uh,
feel great because I had approval and I had acceptance and I had accomplishment and I had achievement.
AKA love from your father, from your mother, from the world, from outside.
School from the world, like this
Yeah.
is how you know you're doing a good job, is that people are like, oh, she got an A, so that's a good job.
Crazy.
Oh, she did this, that's a
Right.
good job.
Yeah. Never mind
And
that she's
then,
not happy inside. Don't worry about
yeah,
that.
but
Yeah.
I don't think I knew. And I actually think this is what happens to a lot of people, because you get, you get a positive response in your body when you achieve something.
Right.
And so, but then you're chasing that adrenaline and you're chasing that
It's like dopamine.
dopamine.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say it's like
Yeah.
dopamine
You're
hit.
chasing that, but
Ring the
that's
bell.
not, that achievement feeling is like, it's always an external,
Yeah.
like I am externally approved of. I'm externally, okay, I'm good enough. I got the promotion. I'm good enough. I got the award. I'm good enough. I got this. But what about what like internally lights your fire? And because there's only so many promotions, and I mean, I kept getting them, but then with every promotion there's more responsibility and there's more hours and there's more people and there's more, and it's like, actually, what do I want?
Ah, the first sign of awareness, right? The first sign of awareness. I think that that's you said it so powerfully too, because it's like that's the big piece is like you do these things. We're taught. I grew up in the same kind of family. I was like I was doing all the artists and the creativity and the entertainment and making everybody laugh and doing all this stuff. And it's like you can't make money with that shit. Go out and do something real in the world. And I became a trader, made the million
Yeah.
bucks, did the thing, rang the bell, got the donkey, got the Porsche and the penthouse and all the things. And I'm like, why do I feel like I want to die right now? Like, what's going on? And that was my wake up call. Very similar,
Mm-hmm.
probably to your corporate adventure, just a little,
Mm-hmm.
with a little less spit on your face from people in a trading pit. But it's
Yeah.
like, yeah. So that's fascinating. And so when did you have the car accident? Was that during corporate or was that after or like what
Yeah,
what
it
part of
was
that?
it was during,
Okay.
and it was interesting because I think I had started to awaken to, like, really knowing there was something else that was pulling me. And it was interesting because I was in my corporate career, and I had this really incredible role, and I'm a corporate executive, and like everyone's just coming to me for support. So they see me in the lunchroom, and then people are just spilling their hearts out, and then they'd see me somewhere else, and I'd be sitting there talking with them, being like, in my mind, in the back of my mind, I've got a job to do, and then there I'm like, this is all I want to do. Like, all I want to do is talk to these people
Wow.
and have them share. And so I think something was starting to awaken in me, like, I'm not supposed to be doing this job. I'm
I
supposed to be
totally
doing
relate.
something else. And I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
doing this, like talking to the people. I'm supposed
Right.
to talk
Right.
to the people. And then, and then I had this car accident. Like, I was at home. It was a Sunday afternoon, and my son was downstairs playing with the nanny, and he's giggling and he's laughing and, having so much fun. And I remember just being stuck there at my computer and wanting to go and play with him, and not knowing if I even knew how to play anymore, or if he would even choose me anymore,
Mm,
because I didn't even know how to have, like, I didn't know how to have fun anymore.
right.
And so, I got another email from work, and I was like, I got to go clear my head. And I grabbed the car keys, ran out the door. And then, 20 minutes later, I'm in the midst of a really terrible car accident.
Mm. What you want to share any details? Like, were you out of
Sure.
body? Were you how bad was it? Were
Yeah.
you injured in the hospital? Like, what did you go through?
So, so like I mentioned, 20 minutes later, I'm in front of a red light, and I ask myself the question, like, how did I get here? Because I just drove for 20 minutes and I couldn't remember even driving. I went to turn the wheel onto the on-ramp to get to where I was going, and a huge black SUV crashes into the side of the truck. I was driving my husband's truck right where my son would have been sitting, and he was 3. And he had asked me to, he was like, mommy, can I come with you? And I paused for a moment and thought about it, and then said, no, 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 little guy, I'll be back in an hour. And so cars are spinning, like the other SUV is flying through the air down the embankment,
Wow.
almost hits oncoming traffic, but the airbags deploy and all of the things. And like, she had crashed through a big railing, and then my car's spinning, everything's in slow motion. And I see my whole life. Like, I see my funeral, or what looked like my funeral, my husband and my son really sad, my family. I see like scenes of my life from when my son was born, from when I got married, and the love that I had with my husband, that at that time, our relationship was in a lot of turmoil. And so I had seen all these scenes, and then I heard and felt this voice. And it was like a felt experience. So if anyone's ever had this, it's like not as much a voice as
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
felt
Sure.
experience in your whole body, like a knowing. And it just said, or I knew, it said, Maya, you haven't done what you came here to do.
Mm.
And by that point, I had done so many things. Like, I was leading a 300-person team. I was a global head of innovation. I had built incredible businesses within the biotech industry and supported hundreds of thousands of people around the world. And I'm like, if I haven't done what I came here to do, like, what did I come here to do? And I just felt this massive regret. And so for the first time in my life, I prayed. And, I said, God, if I make it out of here alive, then I'll be her. Like, I don't know who she is yet. I don't know who I'm supposed to be, but I will be her, and I will
Wow.
commit to being her right now. And so about 20 minutes later, the police come, and the other woman and I are embracing. Both the cars are completely totaled. And they look at us, and they look at both our cars. They're like, how did you get out of there? And I knew there was only one reason we both survived, and
Yeah.
neither one of us had a scratch on us. Like,
Wow.
which was, they looked at our cars. They're like, that's impossible. We have to take you to the hospital because something must be wrong. And we were both fine. And it was
Wow. I love
that,
this.
yeah, it was that day. It changed everything, and
Yeah.
within 6 months, I left my corporate career, and then just went on this journey of discovering, who am I here to be? What am I here to do?
Was this like your big spiritual wake up call? First time you kind of really tapped into it? Was it, or was it there as a kid and you kind of like lost it a little bit with all that work and striving and all that stuff?
You know, I think in some way it was it was always there, but I think this was the awakening from being asleep and being numb. Like, I had numbed myself so much, um, in just, like, I think I tried on a lot of other people's personalities. I don't even know,
Totally.
I don't think I
Totally.
intended to, but I think that's what we learn. And we just learn, you know, I was, it was really interesting. I had, a bit of a tough time in high school, um, where there were just some people in high school that weren't kind to other people in school. And I am somebody who's kind to everybody. So as I was kind with the people they were not being kind with, they became unkind with me. And I didn't want anyone ever to see me upset, or I didn't want anyone to have the opportunity to make fun of me or to make me feel bad. So I just would like go to the library and study, or go and
Totally.
do really great at sports. And so I would just dive in to being the best that I could be. But I didn't realize that that was an escape, and
Yeah.
that was me protecting myself. So I created this persona of like, I became the best at so much, but it was to run away from, and to not put myself in a situation where, I would be hurt.
I totally get that. It's like, don't you think? So there's so much to unpack with this stuff, right? Because I think so many people can relate to this. I can relate to this. Like I was like, okay, I just made $1 million. I have these huge red lines underneath my eyes because it's like my soul's punching me from the inside out. I was sick all the time. I was angry. I was like stressed out of my mind. All I could think about was money. Like I was so disconnected. I wasn't playing music. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't doing anything. And don't you think this is, whether it's an accident, whether it's a bankruptcy, whether it's a illness, don't you think the universe kind of like says, hey, we're gonna give you
Oh,
we're gonna give you hints like little breadcrumbs all the way down the road. But guess what? If you don't listen, you're gonna get hit by a truck. I don't mean that.
that's
I didn't even mean that personally there, but like,
yeah.
it's how it
No, that's
happens.
I think there is a saying, and it's like, it's a feather, then a
Right.
brick, and then a truck, or something like that. I
Right.
don't remember
It's probably
exactly
a
what it
two
is,
by
but
four. Then I mentioned truck, and
yeah,
then I felt like, why did you
yeah.
just say truck? She was in an
Yeah.
accident, dude. Shut
No,
up.
but it's so true.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're not listening, and I think it's beautiful. Like, I don't want anyone to have to go through what I went through.
Right.
However,
Right.
I also know that my whole life turned around, and the life that I'm living right now, one of the things that I noticed, I lived at the St. Regis. I had a butler. I had all of these things when I was in corporate, and I don't think I really appreciated what, like, I had everything and I didn't appreciate it. And now it's like I'm just so grateful for each
Yeah.
moment. I'm grateful to see my son sleeping in the mornings, or giving me a smooch in the, like, before he goes to camp, and the time we get to spend together, or dancing in the rain, or like
Better than a
all these.
butler. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
And you know if and when I have the butler, because
Hey.
you appreciate it so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Like, I lived at the St. Regis for 3 months. They would sew my clothes. If there was ever like a little rip in the sewing or the hem or something, they would sew them. They would do all that stuff.
Wow.
And I mean, it just feels totally different now, where now when these things happen and people do these things, I am over the moon grateful. Like, I am just over the moon grateful. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm just so, like, I'm in awe and wonder. I
I
think life
agree.
is miraculous.
I
I
agree.
love it.
It's like when you have that stuff kind of on autopilot, you don't really think much about it, right? It's like I learned so much. I'm like, I was so unappreciative back when I was going through all that stuff too. And I'm still, look, we're all going through, like, I'm still in a weird ass cocoon. It's like, I don't know, there's some holes punching. I'm like, I thought we were done with the cocoon. There's another one. You know what I mean? It's like there's always this next place of evolution and consciousness,
Absolutely.
and it's like and I think that's something I had to learn too, is like, because like sometimes we're so brainwashed into thinking, oh, it's like once you get there, you're done. It's all good. It's all beautiful. It's like, no, there's always
There's no
gonna
there.
be, there's another, yeah, there's no there,
There's no
there's
there.
no
There
time.
is
Like
here. Like,
there, yeah.
wherever
Just
there
take
is,
the
it's
tea
it's
off,
just
people.
right
Take the
here.
tea
Yes.
off.
Yeah, take the tea off. There is here. It really is. It's this moment. It's
Yeah.
this moment. And
Yeah.
I think we talked about this at some point, but like, what's possible, looking at and feeling into, like, what is that's possible. There's never, you're never there. And which is awesome. Which, I mean, that's
But
like the
we're
most
taught
miraculous
that
thing to me.
we're so taught that there's a there.
Yeah.
always there,
Well,
and it's always outside. It's always like somewhere down the road. I'm like, let me grind until I hit that goal. Okay, so you don't live the entire time. You hit the goal, you get a shot of dopamine, and you're like, what's next?
yeah.
It
And
doesn't
so
work.
if we can learn to appreciate, like, yes, dream the dream. Absolutely.
Yes.
It's one of the things, like, dream the dream and be so present and so conscious with where you are right now. Because I know that when I achieve those things, what I'm most grateful for is who I became along the way.
Exactly.
Like, that's what I'm most grateful for. That's what I'm proudest of, is not that I'm standing on the stage or the book is done or the whatever the billion people reached. It's like, who did I become? Who did I become on the journey? What did I have to go through? And like, wow.
Yeah,
that's
I love
pretty
it.
impressive.
I love it. And I also know like the one of the things that you were talking about, which is like such a big shift that I had to go through in my life too. And look, the ego still comes in and goes, I'm gonna mess with you. I'm gonna like try and make you unhappy right now and show you all the crap that's wrong. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like what I realize is like my soul is like so freaking full of joy and love and happiness and creativity and all the things. And it's like, for so long, I kept chasing that it was always whatever, when I get the album done, when I get this done, when I get the next meal, like all those different things. And I'm like, universe is like, okay, let's keep chasing that stuff and we'll take you down your knees. Not once, not twice, maybe 3 times. And maybe we're on 4th time now. So it's like, there's always this, it's so inside us. And I think we have just, as humanity, most of us have lost the understanding that it's there at all times, even when it's hard, even when it's challenging. There's this fountain of joy just bubbling up. And that's not bullshit, people. It's like, I'm sure you experience it, because it's like, even when you're sad or going through something, it's like you can close your eyes and you just know there's joy there. You tap into it and it starts to pour the medicine, alchemize like whatever's happening, and it changes your frequency. And it's fascinating stuff. Like, I don't know what God's up to or the universe, but it's like, it's some weird stuff.
It's miraculous. It's
it really
beautiful.
is.
It's miraculous.
And it's the cool thing, other thing too, that I tap into is like, sometimes it's hard to understand that it's all from love. It's all from love. Like getting into an accident or getting sick or going bankrupt or getting divorced, like it's because the universe is trying to like evolve through you and lift you and get you to the next level of ascension, right? And there's always some perfect, I don't know what the word is, like map or destiny or something. So it's really like in some ways I'm like, I don't think we have as much free will as we think we do. Like, I think there's this big box, which is our destiny, and then we can bounce inside the box a lot. But I don't know that we ultimately, you know what I mean?
But that's a big box.
No, it's a big box.
I do believe that we have a lot of, like, I feel like I've lived, and I would imagine the same for you. I feel like I've lived lifetimes in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And my life could have ended at any, at different points. And if it did, I would have been one version of myself, and a not fully expressed version. And I do believe there's just all these versions of ourselves that are possible, right? There's a version of Maya that was just in the corporate career and lived and died that. Like, I could have not made any changes and retired when I was 55 and died probably of a heart attack at 58. And I mean, that could have been, I remember, because I was contemplating, do I stay? Because I had a really great pension. I had all these things.
Sure.
And, I remember having a conversation with my husband, and he's like, you can retire early at 52 or what have you. Do you want to do that? And I'm 30 some at the time. And I was like, I will die. Like, I think I will die at 58 if I do that. And so what's the point? What's the point of living and doing that and then being sick for your last 7 years? And so thank goodness I made different choices. And I said, you know what brings me alive, and what can I do, and who am I? And then I had lifetimes in that evolution. So I think there is a destiny, and we co-create that destiny, but that is so vast.
No,
There's
I agree.
so many options.
I wasn't trying to say it's like we're in this little tiny boxy thing, but I do think like our higher selves, the universe, God. Like there's definitely
Yes.
some sort of plan, but like you said, it's kind of like that. What was that Gwyneth Paltrow movie a long time ago, where there was like two different trains showing two different kinds of lives
Oh,
she
yeah.
could live.
Sideways.
Sideways, maybe, yeah. And I think that's what it's true. It's like the same with me. Like if I stayed on the trader path, like I looked at people that were at the time that are probably 20 to 30 years younger than me now, and they looked like hell.
Hmm.
And I was like, is this my destiny to just like think of nonstop thinking about money day and night, and that's it? Well, I'm gonna lose it. Am I gonna make it? And like how much can I get? And what kind of car can I get? And then you realize you've got all that stuff, and it's like, but your soul's like kicking you. Like what the frick?
Hmm.
It's like, and it's not money in abundance is beautiful, but when it comes from a higher place, either miraculously or it comes from your path of most high, most joyful expression, it's a very different experience. It's a much more appreciated experience too, like you're saying. But yeah, it's a wild box. So it's a wild life, man. It's like it reminds me of that Bill Hicks stuff. It's like it's all just a ride. It's like we think it's all real, but it's like it is, but it's like but it's not. So,
Yeah.
and I know you're pretty tapped into all that stuff as well. So tell me about 528 Hertz, because I had no idea, because like I'm on a 528 Hertz kick right now, and so that was your
Oh, you are.
that's your yeah, every morning for an hour. That stuff I'm just meditating with 528, and I'm gone. I'm hallucinating. I'm seeing all kinds of visions. My body's gone. I'm just like, oh, I can breathe. Everything's so easy. It's just such a miracle tone. And I'm
It
super
is.
stoked that I actually researched and I saw that you named your company that.
Yeah.
So
So this was
what's your story with that?
it was so funny. So as I was a corporate executive, and then during this sort of awakening process, and here, I'm corporate executive at biotech, and I start having this realization that everything is about love. Like
Mm,
that's just it. It's just all about love. And so, and if more people would allow that love to come through them, and if more people could express that, if more people knew what love was, like not the codependent love that we think that it is, or easy love, or the spark of love, or but an actual real love, like what
yeah.
real love is, the real
Divine love
divine
energy.
love. and
Yeah.
and so if people really knew that the world would transform. And
Right.
so when I left my company and when I left my biotech and I started my consulting company, I had to come up with a name. And I was like, it's something with love. It's got to be something with love. But at the same time, I'm like, people aren't going to get it. They're not going to get it. They don't,
That's the corporate mind saying that
yeah.
probably,
And
right?
and here I was literally just in this awakening process. And so I'm like,
Right.
I'm going to name it 528, because nobody's going to know what that is, but that's what it's all about. And so when I go consult with my clients, they're like, 528 Hertz. And I was like, yep, that's what that is. and and few people would ask, but then the people who did, it was an awesome conversation. But yeah, I believe love is the foundation for everything.
Yeah. And so how do you when people start coming to you, first of all, this is a conversation we could have for hours around how do we actually really change the world? Like, can we just like have this huge airplane instead of dropping chemtrails or whatever, drop 528 frequencies? Could you imagine like what would happen if that was coming? Not well, it probably is the divine energy, but then like some of the ego stuff's blocking it and some of the primitive energies and the darkness.
Yeah.
But it's so how do you like people that come to you, everyday people, although I know you work with like superstars, people that are like they're on fire and they want to like rock and roll. But let's just say they have that in them, but maybe they're not fully there yet, and they're still battling like some of the hurdles and the obstacles of life, and they haven't really gotten to that place like maybe like where you were with the corporate side, and feeling that they're feeling heavy in their life, or but they know there's something bigger, they know something awesome. What do you do to start like what are some of the steps you do to like rip them open, if you will, in a good way, in a
Yeah.
beautiful, powerful way?
Yeah, so I think it all it's I think everything's really simple. I ground that we do have a destiny, we do have a path, and that we understand our path by what we love and what we don't love. Like it's that simple. What do you love and what do you not love? And oftentimes when people come to me, they don't know what they love. They know what they don't love. They know what they hate. They
I've seen
know
that.
what
Yeah.
makes them upset. They're
Yeah.
like, And
Which
when
is
I
a
say,
good
what,
start, which is a good start
yeah,
because
yeah.
then the opposite's probably coming through.
Well, that can be the stimulus for the dream, right?
Yeah.
So people will come and they're like, I say, what would you love to experience in your life? What would you love to create in your life? Like, what if you could live your dream life, what would it be? And many times people are disconnected with what that is. And they'll say, well, I know I don't want this, Maya. I don't want to be working 60-hour weeks. I don't want to leave before my son wakes up and come home after he comes to bed. I don't want to fight with my spouse all the time. I don't want to worry about money anymore. I don't want this house. I don't want X. And so it's like they have a litany of what they don't want. And then, I say, okay, so what do you want? What would you love? If you could have the house that you desire, what would that be? If you could have the marriage that you loved, what would that look like? How would you look at your husband and how would your husband look at you? What kinds of dates would you go on?
Mm.
What adventures would you take? And then we start having that conversation about what a life they love looks like. And a lot of times, and I take people, I have a couple different events. One is called X Factor, and it supports people to really unlock and unleash the X Factor that lives within them. There's another one that's called Born for This, and it really helps and grounds every person to know that there's something that you're born for. There is a dream that is your destiny, and it is the echo of what is
Yeah.
being called through you. Like you didn't just create it.
No.
It's an echo. It
Yeah.
lives there. The
Yeah.
reason you
Yeah.
want it is because you are meant to have it.
It's
You are
because it's
born
your
for it.
DNA, yo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And so that's really how I begin. And then I go through some different like dreaming exercises and mission exercises. I take people
Right.
through, I take people, I can't, well, I wouldn't want people to necessarily have the experience I did with a car accident, but I do take people there. I take people to imagine you have hours to live.
Yeah.
What do you wish you would have shared? What do you wish you would have said with the people that you love, with the people in the world? Like
Mm.
what is that? Because then we can start there. Because you don't want to come to the end of your life and not have said and not have done what you want to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And we know it.
such a big one.
We know it.
I know Dean, your close cohort. Um, he brings up, and I think he got it. I'm trying to remember who he got it from. I'm seeing his big, the real muscular dude. I forgot his name all of a sudden.
Tony?
No, not Tony. The Ed Milet. Ed Milet.
Ed Milet.
Yeah. So he uses that video thing. He's like, you get to heaven. God pulls out his cell phone and goes, "Hey, you did a pretty good job. Let me show you who you could have been." And I'm
Yeah.
like, and my friend Jen, Jen also does it. Jen Gottlieb. I'm like, those are just every time that comes true because I'm like I know I have so much more in me. Like I feel like I haven't even barely scratched the surface yet personally. Like I've had some cool experiences. I've done some, like you say, like different lives, but I haven't really like this is my really stepping into this next version, my next highest version, and it's like when I hear that, and I just made a video about that too. I'm like, it's like cliche, but it's like the number one regret of the dying is I wish I had the courage to be more of myself and not what everybody else expected of me. And it's like, and I feel like that weight of regret, that pain thing, and that goes back like Tony, right? He had that rocking chair one too, like when you're 97 and you're on your rocking chair and you're like, your life's about to end. It's like, how you feeling? What's happened? Are you happy with what you did? Or do you want a time shift and go back and make some changes? And I think as much as we love moving towards that feels good, I think having both sides of that, I think is super important because people, like I was just going to ask you about that. Like, so you get these beautiful dreams, you get these beautiful visions. Like, I want to dance, I want to sing, I want to like build this company, I want to do this thing, I want to have this kind of relationship, and they're all excited. And then the ego's like, yeah, but all the stories, all the limitations, all the programming comes up. So what is it? The painful thing that gets them through that, or what's the journey through getting past
Yeah.
like the ego voice, the crap?
It's a great question. So, I really believe it's connecting to the reason why you really desire that, right? So nobody just wants the business for the business.
Right.
You don't want the money for the money. You want it because you believe that it's going to give you something, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
wanted the promotion because in some way, shape, or I didn't realize it at the time, but in some way, shape, or form, like I felt good enough when I got approval and when I had the promotions. Like I felt better about myself. But there's a when you can really come to what is the reason why you want those things, like the true
Digs
reason.
deeper. Yeah.
Yeah, then that why, that reason, that is the motivator for you to take actions. And so a couple things, you know it's really powerful to support people to, one, like fall in love with their dream, that they love this dream. They are in love with this dream. And that dream is better than the life that they're living right now. Like, it's got to be more compelling. It's got to be so much more compelling that they can feel it. And so they'll take the steps there. The other part is actually recognizing that there is a pain associated with not having it, right? So if you were to stay in the same place, many people will stay in the same place for years at a time. Like,
Totally.
and so understanding, like, what is the pain associated if you make no changes?
Yeah.
If this does not change, if this marriage doesn't change, if the relationship with your child doesn't change, if nothing changes, then what does that feel like for you in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years?
Ugh. Right. I know that pain. I know the feeling. And so is that enough? Because I still I know I've been doing this stuff for 20 something years, right? And I still have my crap. Well, we all do, because it's part of life. If we didn't have any lessons, we'd be floating around going, I'm just a master. Well, we are anyway, but that's all good. What's the thing that keeps them going when the voices come up? Even though, so you got the vision, you got the dream, you're excited, and I really can feel the passion in your heart. Like, what I love is that question, and not everyone says it. It's like a life that you freaking love. Like, love, love, love. Like, that energy is off way beyond anything of ordinary, typical day-to-day life, right? Even when there's whatever's going on. So and then you take them to the pain zone. You're like, what's the regret going to feel like? What's going to happen when, AKA Dean and God show you the video of where you could have been? And then what does that feel like? Now what? And you got your deep why. Now what keeps people going every single day and just getting through it? Is it commitment? Is it discipline? Is it just holding on to that, really embodying that why? And developing new habits. I'm fascinated by this stuff, because this is like the Brendan Burchard Dean. This is like Tony.
Yeah.
This is how do you really change forever and really shift? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it is about, so I teach a framework for how people can create a very new relationship with fear. And something that I share is fear is the threshold. Like, fear is your threshold to freedom. Fear is the threshold to the life that you love. Like, when you dream a dream, absolutely, anything that is not in resonance with your dream is going to come up for you to become aware of it, and for you to evolve. And so, of course, you're going to have things come up. Of course, there's going to be relationships that feel like they're in turmoil, or jobs or careers or things that might fall away, because you're making space for the thing that you love. And so supporting people, a couple things, supporting people to recognize that fear is the threshold, and they should expect that. Fear is just not knowing. There's something that you're comfortable with, an old habit. Most people are comfortable with their sadness. They're comfortable with their anger. They're comfortable with their frustration and their overwhelm. Those are just habits. And when you help people to understand that's just a habit, you can just as easily create a joy habit, a love habit, a compassion habit. You can create that. It's going to take rewiring and reframing what fear is all about, reframing what that discomfort is all about, and letting people know, it's awesome to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm learning to embrace that. It's so funny though, because the body just ain't playing. I can sit here and I have people that I love on this show, and I still get butterflies in my stomach. Even with you coming on, I'm like, come on, I know Maya. I love Maya. It's this isn't somebody I've never met in my life. It's whatever. So I noticed that, and I'm I'm having conversations with myself, and I'm going, why, or what can I do to eliminate that? Because I feel like I've been feeling some of those feelings literally since I was 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 5, whatever. And I'm I don't like that energy anymore. It doesn't feel like home to me, but I can hear the voice going that those are old patterns that are comfortable. And I remember finding out the discovery that people are addicted to their suffering, or their depression, or their anxiety. I'm we are wild beings. So it's what's the transformation to the new habit?
Yeah.
Is it just practice or commitment again, or
Well, a couple things. One, honor the feeling. Honor if there's overwhelm, if there's butterflies, if there's I go deep, and there's science that suggests if you were to presence an emotion for 90 seconds, like really presence it. If you're angry, if you're sad, if you're overwhelmed, it's like, okay, I'm going to go in this and I'm going to feel this thing. And I'm going to see what comes up. Like, what's the story that comes up? Not that I'm going to attach to it, but I just want to see. And it's like, oh my gosh, I see and feel the story, and I allow myself to experience the feeling, because all emotion is energy in motion. So you have to allow it to be in motion. And we know that which we resist persists. So if it's like, I don't like that feeling, I don't want that.
Oh, right. Then you're ignoring the shadow. You're ignoring the shadow.
You're ignoring it. But if you can honor it and befriend it and be like, you know what? Like this, where did this, I always ask the question, when was the first time I felt this? And then I allow the story to come up. And then I'm like, oh, wow. Because we bring our past into our present all the time, right? So Maya's 5-year-old, if she gets triggered, is going to show up. You know, we have a conversation, you say something, it triggers me. And all of a sudden my 5-year-old is here, and my 5-year-old is having a reaction. And it's, if I can just allow it and say, you know, what is this feeling? When was the first time I felt it? What is the story that's attached to it? And just feel it deeply to let it go. It will leave me. It will leave you. And so, yeah.
I was going to say, I do that practice a lot myself. And I think, and that was something I discovered. It took me a while, because I was like probably living in all the information overload and like the embodiment of spiritual practice and things like that. But about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I started doing that. Let's sit with that feeling. Like, what's that? And how can I love that? What does it have to tell me? And all the things. But I think part of me gets frustrated, is like, it's still there. Like, no matter how much I sit with those things, they're still there. And I'm not giving the finger to it. But I'm just going, it's like, I would really rather, you know, move in this direction. And then part of me also just comes up with the wisdom of like, you are always going to feel uncomfortable. And it might be some of the familiar patterns. I know it's, Dispenza talks about, he's got a book and an audio called Break the Habit of Being Yourself, right? And I'm like, free yourself to be yourself. But we don't want to be the old self. We want to be like the real self. Mm-hmm. And so I just find all this stuff fascinating, because it's like, it's so immersed in me that, like, the psychology, the spiritual point of it, like the physical, the energetic approach, it's like, it's just fascinating. And it's a real study, you know?
It is. And it's super, you know, I feel like it's an exploration, and it's an opportunity. Like, somebody just brought something up to me, because I'm a witness in something, like a something they just called me to be a witness for. So they brought something to my attention, and it was, you know, like something 12 years ago, and it was somebody else's wrongdoing, but well, not really. Anyway, they brought me anyway. It was not their wrongdoing, but they had called me to be a witness, so they bring up something. And I felt energy rising in me. And I was like, oh, I so thought that I was over this thing that happened 15 years ago. And I could feel the energy rising. And it was just so fascinating. And, you know, through that process, I was like, oh, you got some work to do.
That's
like,
right. You got some work, girl.
I didn't realize it was, and it made me laugh. Like, I laughed at myself, because I thought, wow, that happened so long ago.
Yeah.
And there's a remnant there. And I was celebrating that I have this opportunity to have this come up, because if I wasn't called to sit on this thing, then I wouldn't know that there was energy there. And so
that's a real spiritual practice. That's a real practice. See, because what you're getting at that I love is like, you're getting into this, like, I have a habit of when I feel uncomfortable and I'm being triggered, that, let me see what's there. I'm surprised it's there. I want to feel that and all the things. And then at the same time, you're like, what a blessing. And this is that mindset shift, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you actually get into the habit of going, oh, I'm triggered right now. There's an emotion coming up. There's some energy stuck in the body that's coming up to be looked at. And if you look at it from that perspective of like, instead of like getting pulled and hooked into the emotion, you're actually being pulled into something that's like, hey, this could free you more.
It could free you. It's
right.
That's
it wants to come up.
Exactly.
It wants to come up.
It wants to come up and out. Like, that's the reason why it exists, is to come up and out. And that, I think, was such the fascinating thing that happened for me, you know, just yesterday when this happened, because I was like, wow, there, I didn't even realize. And that was just in
It's
there.
it's
And
buried.
now it's
Yeah.
coming up and it'll,
Yeah.
it'll come out. I didn't even, I had asked them, because I didn't think, yeah, I'm like, do I even have to come? Like this thing happened with this person 15 years ago. I wasn't even really involved.
Right.
Must I be there? Because I got some other things going on.
Yeah.
And, and they said they would really appreciate it if I could. So I did. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
but when I was in the moment, I realized how divine it is, because I was like, I would have never known that existed.
And because of that, like if you didn't know, if it's buried, right? If it's in the subconscious or it's in the body. And that's the other thing I learned too that I love. Dispenza talks about your body becomes your mind. It's just like a repository of your old habits and your old traumas and all your old stuff. And, I know his techniques were a little bit different, but the body does naturally give you opportunities to do what you just said. And I know even during dream time too, right? Like I know
Absolutely.
I have had moments with like after my mom died, I would have moments in my dreams where I would literally just start just crying and bawling. And when I woke up, like you said, I kind of sat there and I'm like, wow, my body really needed to release that because it was stored energy. It was like
Yes.
stored grief, and I had that happen the other day. It wasn't any particular reason. There was just this moment right before I woke up. I was like I was just crying. I'm like, I don't even know what that is, but it's good because that means there's
It's
some
great.
kind of sadness or some kind of thing
Yeah.
that's being pulled out of me because it's like, because I'm praying to those angels and those people every day. I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
keep ripping that stuff out and bring opportunities to like keep clearing, keep cleansing, keep raising the energy and the frequency and
Yeah.
keep letting go.
Yeah. Well, and when you're sleeping, that's when you're like you've sort of gotten out of the way, so your
Yeah, the mind's gone.
unconscious can
Yep.
do what it needs to do. And and I just had one of those moments too that you're talking about, where I woke up and I was in tears. And I shared with my son because I was still processing something, and he knows, like, he understands energy. So, he's like, is there anything wrong? And I said, no, there's nothing. There's no story. It just is energy that's coming up. And I start laughing. So I'm crying and I'm laughing, and then he's laughing. And it was just so beautiful to
Yeah.
have that level of awareness of like, the
Ver-
energy is
Very
just
healing.
moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, the energy just moves. There doesn't have to be a story.
Right. Well, I heard Sadhguru. You familiar with Sadhguru by chance? You follow?
Mm-mm.
He's like one of those very popular internet Indian guru guys, like very
Mm-hmm.
very awakened and very tied in. And I heard him say like, ultimately, and this is the hardest thing for most of humanity, is literally to realize that consciousness is in everything. It's like it's like hide and seek with itself, right? The universe, God, it's all one thing, right? And we have the illusion of these separate bodies and separate things and houses and all the stuff. But it's like every time when you realize that there's just consciousness in every one of these things, it's the same God consciousness everywhere. And yeah, there's a
Mm-hmm.
personality and ego there that came for the ride to like make it interesting and make it crazy. But it's like it's a wake up game. It's like a game to the infinite. And when we realize to the point where like that's not really good or bad, it just is. And it's such a hard thing to do because how do you look at the world like the way it is right now and say, well, there's no evil in the world or there's no bad in the world? Because there is. But I think to me, it's just all levels of the spectrum, of the scale, right? Like all the different frequencies. There's very low frequencies and there's very high, but it's still all of the same energy. And that's a tough one because most of the time I'm like, I get on my soapbox and I'm like, these people, there's evil people in the world. They're bastards. They have no compassion. They're like crazy. Like they're like lunatics. And somewhere underneath it, I'm like, somewhere in there, there's got to be some God, or there's just a whole other universe, but it's like, or a whole other like cosmic thing I'm not aware of. None of us know. But I find, again, it goes back to the fascinating thing. So I appreciate that share. And one of the other things that I think would be a fascinating topic, because since we're talking a lot about freedom, because to me, all this stuff is about how do you free yourself and how do
Absolutely.
you live the most joyful life you can while being human and going through this wild journey. So money is a sore spot for a lot of people, especially when it comes like so many people have a story of like, well, yeah, I have this big dream. I have this big thing that makes me feel alive. Like I'm so excited about that. But wait, it's like, I don't know how to make money with that. I'm sure you've had this multiple times come up with your people. Curious how you respond to that. Cause I know private conversations with you, you make it pretty simple. And I think it'd be really cool to put that out into the mostly conscious late night show, make it a little more conscious and just kind of
Yeah.
bring it out.
So yeah, I believe that we are born to be prosperous, like we just are. And prosperity, it's one of the universal laws, the law of abundance. And so if I believe that prosperity follows purpose and passion, it's just everything is energy. And so the more purpose you feel, the more passion you feel, the more prosperity you'll have, and it all is one and the same. And so do the thing that lights you up, do the thing that brings you joy, do the thing that brings you alive, because that's actually where you're going to gain the
Opens
greatest
the most.
prosperity.
It opens the
It
most.
opens the
Yeah.
most. That's where the
Yeah.
flow is,
Yeah. It's because
right?
it's
And so,
energy.
yeah. And so, I share, it's just so fascinating because I have a woman that I work with, super beautiful, brilliant, successful woman. And, as she was launching her live event and her curriculums and what have you, there was this like stuckness, it wasn't coming alive. And when she finally landed on like who she truly was serving and what she was here to share and using her language, not anybody else's, she just went on fire
Yeah.
and was sharing and was passionate. And from that, prosperity comes. And that's what she's seeing. It's been so beautiful to see that as people come alive, they become more and more prosperous as you experience more and more joy,
Yeah.
right?
No, I love that's a great explanation, by the way, because I think that's the same thing. It truly is like the universe, God, soul, whatever you want to call it. It's like it's energy, and the higher that frequency is, which is going to come when you're inspired and when you're in love with what you're up to and creating that life that you love and shit like that. It's like it's a beautiful thing. Now, what about containers versus just kind of being open to like not knowing? And the other part, which I always throw this out for the creative people, because I'm this person. When you're not necessarily in the self-help industry all out, and you're coaching and doing live events and certain things that are specifically geared towards frameworks and programs, how would you address that as well? So basically,
So
the container part of it versus just the frequency, because obviously there's action involved in having some sort of container and strategy, if you will. Or how do you approach that and how do you teach that? And then also like when people are a little bit out of the box, like, crazy people like me and other watching.
yeah, so explain the container part. I just want to make sure
So
I understand
container
that.
meaning like for you it'd be like your challenges, your programs, your masterminds. Container like to bring people into,
Yeah,
basically how you're selling something
yeah.
essentially.
So I do believe you must be welcoming people to, like, you've got to be able to welcome. So a lot of people have an unconscious resistance to money, and understanding what that is, like invite someone into an experience. Like for you, it's a little out of the box. For me too, I have containers. I've got coaching programs and masterminds and events and containers that
Hmm.
I can invite people into. You can invite people into experiences,
Yeah.
right? But it's
Yeah.
it's having a mechanism where you can welcome. The universe loves a support structure. Like it can't place
Yeah.
money if
Yeah.
you don't have a PayPal account or a Stripe account, or it's got to know where to place things. If you don't have a structure in place for those things, and it's as simple as a PayPal account or a Stripe account or a bank
Totally.
account or
Totally.
something, but you must be willing to accept it. And I've just seen so many people unwilling. They say they want, right? They say they desire this.
Yeah.
And I was actually an example, because at a certain point after I left my corporate career and I was a consultant, I could charge a lot to a company. I could not charge a human being, because some part of me felt like that was wrong or that was bad or something.
Yes.
And so there was no place. I just thought people were going to come to me and say, Maya, I think you're amazing and I would like you to help me, and I would like to pay you money.
Yeah.
And I thought this for years, that this would just fall into my lap without me understanding, who am I and what do I have to bring? And so I believe, yes, raise your frequency. Absolutely. And who are you here to be?
Yeah.
What are you here to share? And create an invitation. Like there must be some level of invitation whether that's like your vocation doesn't have to be paid. It's the spirit calling, but you've got like, you need to explore. It's not just raising your frequency, it's knowing who you are and what you're here to share, not only with yourself, but with others. And when you know that and when you're clear on that, you can make a very clear invitation.
Yeah, I love the word invitation so much more than selling. Not that I know selling just has a, it has a connotation to it. It's got a little bit of a, of that thing that goes with it. But I love invitations. Like I feel like it's such a non-threatening way of like connecting with people and just saying like, here's what I got, here's what we're doing. It's like I'm inviting you into this container, this experience, this epic thing that we're all up to. I think that's a really cool way to go. Really cool way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like all the people that you work with, like, is there out of the box people there too that are like, well, what do I give people, or how do I share that? Because like there's so many, again, it's like in our industry, sometimes I get lost in there. It's easy because you see the same thing over and over, right? It's like it's all the same kind of stuff. So I'm sure you have people that come to you that are different, or they have a different dream. Like,
Absolutely.
so what kind
Absolutely.
it's like when they come to you and they're like, well, what would I create, or how do I do that? Or I don't understand what I would sell or invite people into.
Yeah, it's being you and it's showing up as you. Like I have one woman who loves baking, loves sharing her love through her baking expressions. Like she was a nurse and wanted to do something different. And she's like, I said, where do you lose time? Where are you not worried about time or space or people or anything? And she's like, when I'm baking and I'm making these creations, like I don't know what time it is. And she falls in love, and you should see these things. And and it's like, be you and share you. And then there's an invitation. I'm baking this pie. I have my little bakery. I have my cooking lessons. I love to teach kids how to cook. I'd love to do, classes for children once a week. And so she can replace being the nurse with
Yeah.
doing a weekly class for children.
Yeah.
You have like a art experience or any of these things. It's be in the full expression of you, and there's always an opportunity for an invitation for something.
Right. Because people are
It's
just going to be so drawn to it.
Yeah.
Because that's really, at the end of the day, isn't that really what it's about? Is like when you are one of the rare people on this planet that is like shining your light and just in this beautiful, epic energy with a big, vulnerable heart. And you're just doing your thing, whether it's art or whether it's empowering people or whether it's building, making bread or doing a bakery thing, like whatever. Isn't that really, people are like, I don't even, and sometimes they might not even know what it is, right? They're just like, I don't know what that is, but I feel it. Like
Yeah.
I want that. And that really
And
goes back
start,
to
yeah,
that X factor again, right? Because you're so deep in
yeah.
your soul.
And start experimenting with it. Like just start experimenting, because to the question that you asked, like how do you support people with this? What I would share is, even in that question, there is a fear I'm not going to be approved of, right? Like the fear that comes of, Maya, like what do I do? Like how do I do it? Because I'm concerned with how I'm perceived, or I'm concerned with what other people think, or I don't know that it's going to
Or
work out.
supporting themselves, all that stuff
Yeah,
comes up
or
too.
any of these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And I don't, my typical recommendation isn't like throw everything to the
Right.
wind and then just go. It's
Right.
listen, the first time I threw everything to the wind, I would not recommend that, but that's what I did.
Done
It
it three
worked out.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it worked out. The second time I knew that I'm like, this isn't it. This isn't it. I'm giving myself 12 months. It didn't take me 12 months. It took me 4 months, but I was like, I am going to really tap into what is it that I'm here to share. There's one other example, because to this point of like out of the box and people doing out of the box things, I have a woman who like she gives the best hugs. All she wants to do is travel around the world and give people hugs. Everybody loves her hugs. She's
I
amazing. She
love
does
that.
amazing work in the world. And you may or may not know Amma the Hugging Saint,
Yeah. Yeah.
but Amma the Hugging Saint does events where thousands and thousands and
I've
thousands of
been
people.
there. I've been
Oh my
there.
gosh.
Yeah.
I would love to go one day.
Oh my God,
And
the energy.
yeah,
Oh,
and
amazing.
thousands of people come and line up to give hugs.
I know.
And so you find all these crazy people doing these crazy things, being so, I mean, like one of the most um, prosperous women in the world was Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
Like by doing what she loves and being who she is, but you've got to know who you freaking are. Like that's the thing, is find out who you are and then own it. Own it.
Hmm.
And when you do, people will naturally gravitate to you, and then you just invite them.
And then if your
You
shit
invite
comes
them.
up, just hold some space and pour some love and listen to the stories and
Yeah.
do everything else she said at the beginning of it. You are, this is like, that is such a bow. And I know we could talk for days because I feel like we're just getting warmed up, but I know you got something to do in a second or two. So I said it on air. That's what we do on this show. We like show all our shit. We talk about whatever's up, whatever's happening. So cool. I'm going to shine a light on you for a second and just to say how amazing you are. And then we're going to bring you into the wrap up room because I know it's time to wrap up in the wrap up room. Oh my God. You're so amazing. I adore you.
I adore you too, and it's been such an honor being here with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I just want to take a moment and just pour some love on you and say, I'm so glad that I coincidentally, I don't think it's a coincidence, found you and that we've connected. And you reflect such a beautiful vision of possibility and freedom and the highest expression of your joy in yourself. And you emit that frequency and you radiate that love and you radiate that possibility. And you're just an earth angel. And I love you. And you're so like driven and successful and yet like so grounded in like your Notebook movie rain moments and things like that. And I'm really excited to see your little one in a couple months. I think it's coming out from this recording. Excited to witness that as well. So I really appreciate you. And yeah, so
I appreciate you too. Thank you so much. And it really is an honor. And I'm so thrilled to be connected. And I know there's so much more to come.
Absolutely. And so one last question, actually two quick ones before you go. Number one, where's the best place people can find you?
Yeah, www.mayacomerota.com.
Comerota, y'all.
That's right. And then on Instagram, it's at Maya Comerota.
Okay, perfect. And last question is, you've already covered, I think, the majority of this now, but let's just tie a bow on it. What would you tell people who want to free themselves, to be themselves, full out, full gas, rocket throttle?
Yeah, do what you love. Like do what you love every day. Follow the inspiration, follow the things that's calling you. Like you will hear, go dance in the rain, or go sing with your kid, or go play with your child, or go speak wherever. Like there is a little voice inside of you that
every day, yeah,
is whispering to you until you listen and just do the things. So listen and do the things that inspire you and follow
Beautiful.
that. Like do the stuff that you love.
Amazing. Amazing. All right. I think that's a mic drop, people. Here we go. I don't know if you can hear that. It's a mic drop. All right. Hang tight. I'll see you in the green juice room in a second. It's like, thank you. Oh, I missed all the kisses. Wait, I got to go back for that. Hold on. Let's go back. Let's get some. There we go. Woohoo. Okay. I receive. All right. When Love Speaks, this is her Amazon #1 book. Amazon international bestseller. It's a great book. And look at that face. How could you not buy that? Look at the face. I can't say her name again because it's Comerota. Whatever. You know who she is. She's a beautiful being. Follow her. Listen to her wisdom. Go do the replay and check it out because truly, truly life-changing. And remember that you are always loved. You matter. And we all believe in you. So go do your thing. Follow the love. Follow the magic. Follow. All right. Peace out. If you haven't, please subscribe, do your thing, share, comment, because we want to keep this show on the road and keep bringing the amazing earth angels like Miss Maya